Today I'm rebuilding Ohio State and NCAA football and not stopping until we win a national championship because it's been almost 10 years since they did, and their roster for the next few seasons is stacked. However, they're stuck playing in the new Big Ten, and I'll be using some sliders I found to make it even harder, so it could take me a bit to get the Buckeyes a championship. And if you're wondering, it's Jared21's black sliders, which I'll make sure to link down below. Now, to make sure we stay on pace to win a championship, we need to complete these objectives in year 1, and that is all going to start in recruiting, where I'm also using Fang's recruiting mod. It makes it possible to bring in super high overall recruits like these guys, and we'll have to focus on landing either Jackson Nelson or athlete Jamar Batty if we want to land an 88+1. If we're able to land Batty, he's definitely playing at DB for us, and there's so many talented prospects we can go after, but we'll see if we're actually able to land them. I've already decided to put the two 89+ recruits on a visit versus Western Michigan, so it's important we start this first season with a win, and we have to make the playoffs, but with these preseason projections we should, so I'm excited to see what happens, especially with a defensive line that's as loaded as ours. We need to pass for over 250 yards in this game, and we'll see if Will Howard can get that for us. But I have no idea how I'm going to do on these sliders, and considering I'm on a 3rd and 30 on our first drive, we could be in trouble as that's off target. I don't know what I've gotten myself into, but what is Judkins doing back there at punter? I have got to fix the depth chart, and the game just set us up for failure. The guy that made the roster for me had our halfback punting the ball. That is not good. And on 3rd and 8, it looks like the Broncos are going to try to pass on us where our coverage just couldn't stick. We would get them to a 3rd and goal, so I'm hoping that we're able to hold them, and it looks like we will, but I can tell these sliders are going to challenge me, and apparently we got to get Will Howard into a rhythm where he is just sailing it out of bounds. The quarterback throw accuracy whenever you play on difficult sliders is always atrocious to have to deal with, but we have been able to work it down the field, and I see that Jeremiah Smith is wide open. I'm just going to float it to him, and he's easily going to take that into the end zone. Ever since then, nobody's been able to score, but I've been happy with our defensive efforts, and that's another good one. I do think I'm going to struggle to get to 250 passing yards, but we could still make it happen, and I think you all should be able to tell how difficult these sliders are going to make things for me. Whenever we play against Big Ten opponents, we could struggle a lot, but as this one's gone on, we have been able to figure some things out, like Will Howard can make throws on the run, and our defense is also really good, which gets me super excited to use this team the rest of the year. At the end of the day, we're going to win by 24 points as we continue to run out the rest of this clock, so we're going to pick up a win in this matchup. And Will Howard threw for over 250 yards, so I'm thrilled to announce we've not only signed one 89+ recruit, but 2 of them, and that's going to knock off one of our 2 objectives in this first season. Tackle Jackson Nelson and athlete Jamar Batty are going to help this program out a ton, especially for the guy that can play corner. But we still have a lot of other players we need to go after, and I'm hoping we can eventually get into the lead on Braylon Neal. As for our conference standings, it looks like Michigan has already dropped a game to UCLA, and those new teams from the Pac-12 are no joke. Theoretically, in our first few matchups, we shouldn't have any issues, but that's only because we're playing schools like Akron, and now that I don't have to focus on passing for over 250 yards, things are so much simpler. We have a 2-headed rushing attack that's going to dominate, and I can't believe Ohio State has both of these running backs next year. Then on defense, everyone's insane, so if it weren't for these sliders, we should win a championship this season. I mean, theoretically, we still could, but I have no clue how things are going to go whenever we have to play against real teams, and it's pretty bold to attempt a 56-yarder, but I want to give it a go, and that's short. It's a good thing that our defense has been having no issues at all, and with 2 minutes left in the first half, we're still only up by 7, but I have the deep post open with this play, and Carnell Tate's going to come away with the football to run it all the way to the 2. That is exactly what we needed out of him in that situation, and Akron was doing a decent job of keeping it close, but now I have a feeling they're going to struggle a little bit more. We almost gave up a 3rd and 20, but at least we eventually made the tackle, and we'd simply maintain that 2-possession lead throughout the entire second half. The team I'm working with is definitely a playoff caliber one, so it's on me to take them there, and Judkins led the way with this result. I honestly don't know if I should be giving him or Travion Henderson more touches, because they're both so good, but now it's time to start Big Ten conference play, and even though the Gophers are undefeated, we are the favorites to take them down. Then in recruiting, you'll see we picked up a couple more prospects, but we also lost one to Penn State, and we have been slowly gaining on these linebackers, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. We need to catch some of these schools now, and the Michigan game's the only good visit week, so I'm going to have to schedule them for Minnesota, and we still haven't had to play a game on the road. With these sliders, that's another thing I'm worried about since they are harder than the ones that I used in the Grand Rapids series, but Carnell Tate has spun 2 defenders out, and he is fighting for every extra yard, so the sophomore wide receiver is starting to play extremely well, and I've been loving what I've seen from this passing game so far. The halfback screen's going to work wonders, and Judkins is alone. We have got to figure out how to get Minnesota off the field, though, and here on 3rd and 11, they threw it straight at Caleb Downs, so it makes sense that we got the stop, and after punting it back to us, I'm hoping that we're able to put together another good drive. They keep getting us to 3rd down situations, though, and Carnell Tate is going to pick this one up for us, so that was huge because I think it's going to lead to us getting another score, and I'm hoping Judkins is quick enough to outrun these defenders, but he's not. Maybe the halfback toss wasn't the greatest play call in that situation. I don't think Abuka is going to be able to make it either, so Minnesota's held us to a field goal, but at least we're still going up by 2 possessions. Our defense has also been holding it down as Minnesota still has not scored. We should get the sack here. They throw it straight to us. We get the interception with Hicks, and maybe we could return this as well if he is able to break free. But even though he wasn't, there's still a chance that we could get into field goal range, and I'm telling you, these sliders are brutal. Will Howard certainly isn't perfect, but he is making that throw in real life, and I am not looking forward to the day when we have to face off against a higher ranked team in this rebuild. I feel like I'm going to need a perfect team of all 99s in order to win a championship with them, and on 3rd and 15 we don't give it up, but we came awful close to doing so, and I'm surprised that they're not going for it. I mean, they're going to try to pin us back instead, but they don't. But that must have been the smart move, because with 3 minutes left, they have it within 3 points and they're not getting this, but they might be able to make a field goal from there, and it's all because I've struggled to move the ball with the Buckeyes offense, but that's way off. 1 first down is all that we're going to need, so we should be fine, and we will see if Travion Henderson can get that for us, but he doesn't. I'm telling you, I've really struggled on offense during the second half with Ohio State, but it's not going to matter because Will Howard just ended it, and that was a fantastic throw on the run from the senior. He'd end up winning player of the game as well, but we're not going to have him forever, so it's a good thing that there are some other options in this quarterback room. I think next season Devin Brown will be the starter, but we could always search for a quarterback as well, and I'm just not sure if any of these guys are going to be worth going after. I mean, we might as well scout them since we continue to sign a good class, but Florida stole this tackle from us, and it turns out that not a single one of those quarterbacks was worth it. As of right now, the only team ahead of us in the rankings is Alabama, so in order to become number 1, we have to keep winning, but Ohio State's out-of-schedule conference next season is cake, and I can say that because I scheduled exactly who they're playing in real life. I mean, I have absolutely zero room to talk as a Kentucky fan since who we schedule is the only reason we make bowl games, but for a program of their caliber, they should be playing some better schools. And what was that throw from Will Howard? That is why you always hand it off when you're down on the goal line, and I feel bad for Marshall because there's no way they have any success against this defense. They're throwing it on the run, and if they pick this up, I'd be so upset. Even though we are having success on that side of the ball, the offense isn't moving as well, so hopefully this halfback screen can work out for us, and Judkins is not able to get around everybody, but he does take it down to the 30-yard line, and from there, I'm expecting Travion Henderson to help us punch this one in. It looks like we're going to put away Marshall pretty early on in this game, and this was the most that we've ever scored, so I'm very happy with how this one went. That'll put us at 4-0, but we still haven't played a super difficult opponent, so we don't really deserve this bye week. Our players aren't going to need extra time to prepare for Northwestern, but they do scare me a little bit as a 91 overall team, and we did sign some more recruits with Devin Rose and Chris Rucker-Furlow being some of the leading names. The rest of these guys also came on a visit versus Marshall, so we've gotten it close with all of these schools, and I've had to find some more prospects to go after where some of them were rough, but I also found some gems, including this 86 overall safety. Vladimir Thomas could literally start for us next season, but the issue with him is we're already so far behind, and are we ever going to have to play a game on the road? I mean, I can't complain since I'm still trying to figure out how to put up points on these sliders. It looks like Smith's going to get us a big catch with this play, and on a later 4th and 1, I'm being aggressive by going for it, but this is going to pay off. You have to be aggressive in those situations, and I can tell that they want to send a blitz in our direction, so I'm hoping that we're able to break the press, but I couldn't get the ball out quick enough. So unless we pick up this 3rd and 12, Northwestern's going to hold us to a field goal, and that's an interception. We don't even get 3. I'm so used to rolling out and taking that, but on these sliders, that doesn't work, and approaching the half, we find ourselves in a tie game with the Wildcats. I'm going to do my best to run the rest of the time off the clock before we hopefully reach the end zone, and we're very close to doing so, but Judkins is going to have to hold on, and he didn't even have a chance to catch that ball. Alright, that makes this 3rd and goal where I am not really seeing much here. I got to throw it out of bounds, and that's better than throwing another interception on the goal line, but I can tell you all right now, I am not happy that we are in a tight game with Northwestern and give us the pick there. Come on. I mean, at least we forced the drop, but we had 2 players all over that ball, and this has been a pretty good drive, but it's going to end here as we fumble it away. Pate picks it up, and you've got to be joking. Can somebody just make the tackle on him? I missed it. And if Jackson does not catch him, they're going to return it all the way back to the crib. My mistakes are definitely the reason that this one is close. Sullivan's going to run it into the end zone, and I've been sweating to try and get a good response with Ohio State on this drive. We have 17 first downs to their 5, and we are losing this football game right now. But we're not in a bad position going into the 4th quarter, and we simply need to pick up like 5 more yards, which we're not going to do. All right, it is 3rd and goal, and our slant's going to be caught, but I'll tell you what, how we've performed in this doesn't give me much hope for the rest of the year, and I'm just glad we got them off the field there. My hope is that they never see the ball again, and it seems like they've fallen for the motion where Travion Henderson is going to just get caught. It's on our defense to hold things down for us, and on 3rd and 2, I'm not able to generate enough pressure to get the sack. They're also breaking the tackle, so Brendan Sullivan's going to keep their drive alive, and we desperately need somebody to step up at some point as he continues to just run it down our throats. With about 10 yards, they could be in field goal range, but we get the sack, and that is huge. It is now 4th and 10. We just need our players to drop back well. They go down, and our defense is going to keep keep us undefeated. Jeremiah Smith ended up winning player of the game, and to do so with those stats should tell you about how bad everybody else on our offense played, but I'll take it, and like expected, we had no chance at landing Vladimir Thomas. It's all good though, because right now Penn State and Michigan are struggling, so we're on pace to make the Big Ten championship, where most likely as of now we'd face off against USC, but we're just now getting to the tough part of our schedule, and I'll be interested to see how we do against Iowa. I mean, it's no surprise they've one of the worst offenses in the country, but I am a little worried because of the sliders I'm playing on, and I just hope we don't lose to the Hawkeyes. It seems like their first drive is going to result in a touchdown, and it does, so that is not how I wanted to open things up, and on 3rd and 8 we couldn't get it out. I think we should be able to make a 52-yarder since we barely missed a 56-yarder, and I'm glad I remembered that from earlier in the year, but I'm not sure if it's going to matter. They've already been able to reach the end zone for a second time, so it is super important that we finish this one off, but I throw a pick. This is what I get for making fun of their offense in all my past videos, and it looks like they're about to make it 21-3, which they do. This is an embarrassing performance from us. They've sent in a blitz and Will Howard misses the target, but we had somebody wide open, and we desperately need to get some points before the half, but that's a sack. I am not happy with how we're performing, and I should have known something like this was coming. On 3rd and 9, we are going to have an incompletion, so they've held us again, and their defense has been no joke, so we're going to have a hard time coming back. In the end, we can send up a last-second prayer, but the Hawkeyes are going to take us down, and we're going to lose, so that is not a good sign for what the future holds, because next up is another road game, and Penn State's been having a bad year, but they're a 95 overall team. I mean, the only thing that matters to me is we still make the college football playoffs, but even that's going to be difficult if I can't figure out these sliders, and I guess we'll see what happens versus the Nittany Lions. Drew Aller has already driven it all the way down the field on us, where hopefully we can get the sack on this play, and this is not an easy matchup for this team, but I hope we're able to hold them, and we don't. However, we've gotten extremely lucky because they committed a penalty, so now it's 3rd and goal, and they shouldn't reach the end zone as long as we can make a tackle, but we don't. Their defense has also been insane, so approaching halftime, I haven't been able to score any points. It's going to be hard to pick up this 3rd and 19, but Graham is going to do it for us, and that's big. Now we have a chance to get it back within one possession, but Drew Aller would end the half by scoring a touchdown himself, and in order to come out on top against the Nittany Lions, we're going to have to play perfectly here in the 3rd quarter, where we are going to fight for the first. From here, I trust that we should be able to just hand it off and reach the end zone, but Travion Henderson looks super slow right now, so on 3rd and goal, we're going to have to lean on Judkins. Then we need to get them off the field, and this is a halfback screen, so we should be able to get over to Katron Allen to make the tackle, and that means we're getting the ball back again. I honestly thought all hope was lost, but maybe not, because we have somebody wide open in Carnell Tate, and now all we have to do is hit the extra point to tie it up. There's only a few minutes left in this game now, so it is crucial that we get them off the field, and with the halfback screen, they're not going anywhere. Honestly, it's not been too difficult to get into field goal range, so we should be able to win, and getting a result in this one is such a big deal for our program. If we lost again, we were going to drop out of the top 12, but now this should move us back up to like 7 or 8, and there's still plenty of other tough games on our schedule. Right now, this is what the standings look like in our division, and we have 3 straight road games before we play Indiana and then cap off the year with the big game. I'm hoping the Terrapins don't give us too many issues, but it looks like our best defensive player is injured, and with Caleb Downs out for the next 5 weeks with a broken tailbone, we're going to need somebody else to step up in his place. It looks like Matthews Jr. is his replacement, and on 3rd and 16, we just got to make the tackle on their running back, but they break that one and they're going to pick it up. So their drive would continue, where on 3rd and 9, they're going to reach the marker again. We are having no luck when it comes to stopping the Terrapins, and we've probably gotten ourselves into another battle where that corner route didn't get open at all. I'm so used to throwing those immediately, but nothing about this first half has gone our way, as they're going to take this in too. So that means it's going to be 28-7, and I'm being very aggressive going for it on this 4th and 2, but I feel like we have no choice. We're going to have to do the same thing again just a few plays later, and this is the 3rd 4th and 2 that we're attempting in a row, but we keep picking them up. That would lead to a touchdown, but now we have to get the ball back versus the Terrapins, and it looks like we are not going to do so because we couldn't make the tackle. We're down 14 approaching the end of the 3rd quarter, and I'm afraid that they've already gotten into field goal range, but we're going to box up the halfback screen, so maybe they're not anymore, and this drive better go well for us, where I'm just going to thread it up the seam, and that was so off target. It went straight to Miller, their safety, and they're going to get the pick. I don't know what Will Howard was doing, but I saw number 88 get wide open, and these sliders are just brutal. There's not much I can do about it now. We're going to lose another game, and Billy Edwards Jr. destroyed us. I can't believe their quarterback played that well, but I think it's going to make it very hard for us to make it to the playoffs, and with more bad news, you'll see that Michigan stole this linebacker from us. Now we have to face the number 1 team in the country, and I understand that we're the higher overall team on paper, but we're missing our best defensive player, and they've been on a roll. If we don't come out on top of this one, I have a hard time imagining that we'd make it to the playoffs, but after having an inaccurate pass, they're attempting the field goal, and it's not in. I mean, it wasn't even close, and it looks like we're about to score, but we're just going to need a little bit more, and I'm going to try to fit it into that window, but it's dropped. It seems like the Spartans are about to hold hold us just like they were hoping for unless we can get out of there. And this has certainly been a defensive battle. I'm honestly not sure how Michigan State's undefeated with an offense like what they've shown us, but I'm guessing it has to be their defense, which has made it very difficult to score. I'm going to try to bomb them deep, and that's caught. Carnell Tate's going to be the reason that we go up by 2 possessions, but you can never count Michigan State out because they've had a good drive to start this half, and after not moving the chains there, they should have gotten it back within 7, but instead they shanked another field goal versus us, and they've gotten in a rusher, but Will Howard's going to take the first. That drive would also result in a touchdown, and the Spartans have been struggling, but I never imagined that they would be punting down by 16 with 3.5 minutes remaining, and if Matthews Jr. has a good return as well, that would pretty much just put the nail in the coffin. Now, they would get us to a 3rd and 20, but I feel like we should be able to pick this up, and that is what we've done. I've also juked out that defender. We're going to the 5, so Michigan State's cooked, and taking down the #1 team in the country on the road is a huge win. What's even crazier is they didn't score a single point, and our defense definitely has stepped up, but so did Judkins on offense, and we still have a chance at making the Big Ten championship. We're also in a lot of different recruiting battles, but as long as these players don't commit during their visit weeks, we should be fine, and let's make sure we win the battle for the Illy Buck. If we're being fully transparent, I had zero clue that this was a rivalry, but it's a pretty big deal since we're both 4-2 in conference play, and this has to be the best that Illinois football has been in a while. With less than 30 seconds left in this half, we do find ourselves struggling to get points against the Fighting Illini, so that is not a good sign, but eventually our offense has to get things going, and that was almost picked. The biggest issue I'm running into on these sliders is I can't make the throws that I normally would, and I know so many of these plays by heart, and when I see the cover 2, I'm going to attack it. However, after taking this hit after making the catch, Carnell Tate would end up holding on to his chest, so we had to burn our final timeout, and that's because we couldn't stay in hurry up mode, so we really need to make this play count. They are guarding our tight end, but I don't care. I was throwing that no matter what, and going into the half with a tie game is such a big deal. I see that Judkins is wide open, and our halfback is going to easily take it in. Illinois would score again though, so it is 14-14, and I'm getting sacked, so we have to punt it back to them, and this is going to be an interesting 4th quarter. So much is on the line because both of our teams are still in play to potentially make the Big Ten Conference Championship, and after getting the ball back there, I think we could use taking a deep shot down the field just to see what happens, and we aren't going to catch it. I think those are worth it because on the next play, we're still going to move the chains as Ennis gets it for us, and eventually we would work it all the way down to the 6-yard line where we could have taken it in, but they got a block shed at the perfect time, and that's a bad throw. I don't know if we should be handing this ball off or not, but that's what I decided we're going to do, and it would be such a big deal if we could make sure that they're not able to score a touchdown, but they've burnt us deep, and they are going to get it to the 10. It's seeming like they're about to tie it up at 21 unless our zones can play some good defense, and I was all over that, but I guess it's not going to matter because apparently they missed the extra point, and all we're going to need is a 1st down. That's what we get with Judkins, so I didn't even have to put together a game-winning drive with a field goal, which is just wonderful, and I might as well take this one in. Wait, I think I might have just really messed up because an extra point would make it a 1-possession game, so we might as well go for it here, and that's caught. It was a little crazy, but we are going to escape Illinois with a win, and that's going to make us 8-2. As long as we don't lose, we should make the college football playoffs, and to make the Big Ten Conference Championship, we need Michigan State to lose, but I'm not sure if it's going to happen because they play Northwestern and Penn State. As for recruiting, it was a really rough week losing this linebacker to Georgia and these 2 players to Michigan, so we're going to take out all of our frustration against Indiana. I'm not going to be satisfied unless we beat them by 30, and we need to make a statement in front of our home crowd, so I wasn't expecting us to be trailing with a few minutes left in the half, but at least we're able to tie it back up at 7, and I think I'm going to send a blitz on 3rd and 2, which was the right decision, but they broke the tackle, and we're lucky it was still marked as a 4th and inches. The issue is I'm pretty sure they're about to force a 3 and out on us unless we can get super lucky, and that's a bad throw, so it's going right back to the Hoosiers. And why does every single game we play in have to be such a tight contest? I legitimately don't know how I'm going to win it all with Ohio State, but maybe our team will perform better with Devin Brown, and I was trying to test out Will Howard's deep throw accuracy, but he just missed by a mile. I'm not happy that we're still losing, but it looks like we are about to tie it back up as long as he can hit his target here, and thankfully Jeremiah Smith held on to the football. However, we're still down by 1 because we would miss the extra point there, and that's what I get for simming it, but we have moved it down the field, and I feel like I'm about to take a sack. Once you get to this part of the field, it seems like keeping things on the ground is always the better option, but Travion Henderson's going to have to bust it in for us, and he doesn't. I'm going to go for this every single time, and we had our tight end open, so I had to make sure I threw it to him, and with the 2-point conversion, we're not going to get it. It ended up being okay because Indiana would never score again, but I'll admit for a split second they scared me, and I'm ready to take on our biggest rivals, Michigan. Now, to my surprise, they're 7-4, but sitting at number 9 in the country, so no matter what happens, I think we're going to make the playoffs, but in order to make the Big Ten championship, we need Michigan State to lose, and I have a feeling that that's not going to happen. That's why all I'm concerned with is making sure that our rivals don't embarrass us here at home and we drop it, but we could still move the chains here on 3rd down, and that's what we're going to do over to Carnell Tate, who's going to fight his way all the way to the 1. He We ended up being just short of reaching the end zone, but at least we'd still get in, and here on 3rd and 18, they're gonna have a hard time picking this up. However, ever since that moment, they would go on a 10-0 run as we're gonna end the half down by 3, and Michigan really stepped up, but it's also on our offense for not performing. They'd start the 3rd quarter with another touchdown, so things aren't looking good, and these missed throws are going to drive me crazy. We're not gonna stop them on 3rd down. They might be gone to the crib, and hopefully we can get them off the field on this 3rd and 8 where we are going to. Like most of our games, we're gonna have to pull off a comeback, and with about 3 minutes left, we've gotten it down the field, but we need to reach the end zone quick. We break the sack, and on the run, we're able to make the throw. Now the Wolverines have it back, and with this first play, they are simply gonna check it down, so that's an easy tackle. I definitely don't like that this game's come down to this for us, but they passed it on 2nd down, and here on 3rd and 12, we just have to make sure they don't convert, which they don't. Our defense has clutched up again, but this team loves to take things down to the wire, so we're gonna need to get a touchdown. There's not that much time left on the clock now, and we're not gonna hit that throw, so I hope the pressure isn't starting to get into Will Howard. They've generated pressure. We have to throw it off of our back foot, and now the ball is loose, but fortunately for us, there was a flag on the play, and the refs have bailed us out so hard. We were in a ton of trouble, but by the time there's 6 seconds left, we've gotten it down to the goal line, and that was almost picked. Well, it all comes down to this, and I did not like our look there, so I called a timeout. That is a lot better, and Judkins is going to make it in. This is the craziest ending that we've had in this rebuild, and Ohio State's going to beat their rivals Michigan, so that should be enough to knock the Wolverines out of the playoffs. But unfortunately for us, we're not going to make the Big Ten championship, and I can't believe that we've gotten ourselves the 1st round bye. I'm not seeing the 88 overall linebacker on our list though, so that means he has committed to Alabama, and I guess we're ready for the college football playoffs, where we had a player win the Vince Lombardi Award, so that just proves that our defense on this team was elite. And when it came to passing, Will Howard averaged an interception a game, but Judkins made up for it by averaging a touchdown a game, and on these sliders, our offense really struggled. Michigan State ended up losing to unranked UCLA in the conference championship, so somehow going into the playoffs, we're the 2 seed, and no matter who wins this, our quarterfinal matchup shouldn't be bad. I mean, it's going to be either Coastal Carolina or Arkansas, and it was a tight matchup, but the Razorbacks just came out on top. Hopefully we'll be cruising on to the semifinals, but maybe not because they're also a 95 overall, and somehow KJ Jefferson is still in college. This is based on next year's rosters, but only Ohio State was updated, so maybe that's why we're running into this issue. They're going to throw a touchdown, and they've started out the game with a lead. We'd respond back pretty quick, but it looks like they're about to get another, so we find ourselves down by 7 again, and on 3rd and 11, I got to get it out, but I didn't have enough time there, and with the Razorbacks scoring another touchdown, this becomes a crucial drive where Will Howard's going to roll out and maybe throw this on the run over to Judkins, but that was risky. I was running for my life, and they're calling illegal touching, so that makes it a 3rd and 11 where I'm hoping they don't stick with that route, and they're about to pick it. When I tell you this game just keeps getting worse and worse, I seriously mean it, because we're not going to pick up that 4th down, and I just want to stop Arkansas one time today where on this 3rd and 13 we do, but they're still deciding to go for it on 4th down, and we get them. Now we have to put together a good drive if we don't want this game to be over already, and on 3rd and 2, they're going to run zone, so we're going to have our hitch all day. This has been a hard matchup, but I feel like we should have had our seam up the middle, and Will Howard continues to disappoint me. He's been pretty rough in this game, and I'm about to just put in Devin Brown since that's who's going to start for us next year, but just in case we still have a chance in this playoff game, we can't ruin it, and I feel like we have to get a sack to get them out of field goal range, but we weren't able to do it. This one's definitely going to sting because they're up by 3 possessions, and we need to score so quickly on Arkansas. I'm just going to send up a prayer, hope for the best, and that throw is going to be caught. If only Will Howard could have played like this for the entire game, then I don't think we would be in this situation, but now the issue we're going to run into is we have to get multiple defensive stops on them, and I don't think we're going to be able to do that. They've already turned on chew clock with a few minutes remaining in this game, and they're getting the first, so we can run commit all that we want versus them, but I think we'd need to recover an onside kick, and how did we not make the tackle? On 3rd and 14, they're simply going to do the smart thing, and like I thought, we're going to have to get extremely lucky, but 17 is somehow free. Carnell Tate is gone, and this could be the luck that we needed. With exactly 2 minutes left though, the onside kick still has to go our way, and they fumbled it, but they're still going to pick it up in the end, so they'd have to do something really stupid to mess this one up, and honestly, I wouldn't put it past the computer. However, they are out there in a QB kneel, and I don't think they're ever getting this punt off. Arkansas actually beat us in the quarterfinal, but honestly, it's okay because we have some good recruits coming in, and we did complete our 2 challenges in this first season, so I'm happy about that as well. As for the national champion, it's come down to 2 Big 12 schools, so I would have never guessed that, and this was definitely our year to win it all. Instead, it looks like Utah's gonna take the title, and Kansas State is not even gonna get it out, so the Utes are now national champions. We're also losing a ton of different players to the NFL, but at least Denzel Burke is staying, and I can't believe all these players are transferring out, but we have to convince Judkins to come back for another season, and I truly believe if he does, he could win the Heisman, so that was enough. It's definitely not going to be as easy to succeed without all this talent, but we should be able to land 2 more solid prospects, and I cannot believe that Nate Henderson chose Wisconsin. I thought we had like a top 5 class, but it came in at number 10, and besides these 289 overalls, I'm not sure if any of these other players are going to start. Now, when it comes to putting Jamar Batty at corner, we already have 5 really good ones, and it turns out he only becomes an 84 here, so we're actually going to move him to quarterback, and depending on how training results go, he could be starting over Devin Brown. Now it's time to see which of our guys improves the most, and I gotta say, seeing Carnell Tate jump up to a 96 makes me super happy. There were a ton of great improvements, and look at that. Our starting free safety got jumped by the backup Malik Hartford, and this has to be the best DB room in the country. We literally have 99 overall Caleb Downs at strong safety, and I'm also going to take some skill points away from our recruiting tree and then max out our game management one because this will give us a ton of bonuses. Going into season 2, our 2 objectives are win the Big Ten and get a playoff win, and we'll see if something like that's possible, but we have teams like Texas on our schedule, and outside of this already tough division, that's also another hard matchup, so we'll see what happens, but we're projected to be the 3rd best team in the country, and that's because somehow we've hit 99 overall. The only reason I even think this is possible is because Judkins returned, and these type of stats on a running back are insane, so I was expecting to see him in the Heisman watch list, but he isn't. My goal is going to be to run our offense through him, and by the end of the year, I'm expecting him to be in the running for some national awards, but we have to get there first, and with these sliders, it's already 3rd and 18 where that's going out of bounds, and we had to punt it back to Texas, but it's already 3rd and 7. I'm guarding Jonte Cook II, and that should have been picked. They're definitely benefiting on the fact that Quinn Ewers still hasn't graduated, but we are going to hold them to a 4th and 1, and it looks like the senior is going to be passing on this 4th down where we were all over it. That is such a big deal for us to be getting the ball back again, but by the time there's about 45 seconds left in this half, we're trailing by 3, and Devin Brown's been alright, but he definitely has a lot to work on still. At least he's going to hit his receiver here, and we spun out of there, but time is not on our side right now. We still have to reach the end zone, and that is going to be it. I've also been trying to send in some blitzes, which we did here, but we haven't gotten pressure until this sack, and that took a lot longer than I thought it would, but we still got exactly what we were looking for, and on this long 3rd and 16, I think Devin Brown's going to have to use his legs to try to pick it up, but he's short. To be honest, I think this is worth going for, and that actually was the right move, and I honestly can't tell if I think this team is better than the one we had last year or not, but I am starting to feel a little bit more comfortable on these sliders, and that's a bad throw. I should have known better to just hand it off there instead of trying to pass, but this works, and Jaden Ballard's going to put us up by 11. The longer this one goes on, the worse it's looking for the Longhorns, and if they don't pick up this 4th and 6, this game is all over. We have somebody all over that football, and this is what I'm saying. Our DBs are so good. I have a feeling they're going to carry us to a Big Ten championship, and that would be huge for Ohio State because as of recently, the conference has been run by Michigan schools, and I wasn't able to find any 89 overall players in this class, but I did find some prospects that are highly rated, so I'm hoping we're able to get them to commit because there's a lot of team needs we have to fill. As I look at the overalls of these other teams, this is probably Ohio State's window, but there are some other 99 overalls, and that just means we're going to have to play better than everybody else. That shouldn't be an issue versus schools like Ohio, and I'm going to schedule some players for a visit for this game because I know we're going to win. In order to meet some of these goals though, we're going to need to get a lot of sacks, so I'm going to be sending the house at the Bobcats, and I kind of feel bad for whoever they have back there at quarterback. But before we play out the rest of this rebuild, a word from today's video sponsor, Prize Picks. March Madness is right around the corner, so you have to get the app if you don't have it, and you can play in over 30 states, so there's a good chance yours is eligible. If you don't know what Prize Picks is, on there you simply select between 2 to 6 players and higher or lower on their projections, and I would have 25x'd my money if I got all 6 of those right, but because they're harder to hit, I also like smaller entries like these, and if you want some free cash to start out with on Prize Picks, code BOARD or the first link in my description will double your initial deposit up to $100. Now it's time to go for sacks against Ohio, where we've already gotten one on him, and it looks like we're about to get another, but he got it out just in time to get them the first, and they could get the first points of this game, but we are not going to let that happen. Now it's on our rushing attack to get things going for our offense, and that's what we're trying to do, but it clearly hasn't gone that well, as with a couple minutes left in this half, it's 7-7, and we're just getting this first. It definitely isn't impressive to be struggling like this, so I'm hoping that we can eventually figure things out, and man-to-man coverage won't work, but Devin Brown also can't make a throw. That was such an easy touchdown we could have had, but we had another one there, and it was so far behind our receiver that somehow they're going to get the interception out of it. It blows my mind that we are still in a tie game with the Bobcats, but Judkins only has 19 rushing yards, and they've keyed in on stopping him, so it's nice to see him finally get something going. I'm hoping that we're able to punch it in with just a few plays, but we might have to go back to the air, and it's a good thing that we don't. Now, on 3rd and 4, they're going to roll out, and it looks like we're going to get the sack, so that is exactly what we needed, and no matter what happens on this play, we're going to get a field goal out of this drive anyway, but we're going to get the first, and that was such a good effort from Judkins. I mean, there's no reason our offensive line shouldn't be dominating versus Ohio, and it's so weird that we played better against Texas than we are against a MAC school. I underestimated underestimated them, so I guess this is a sign to not underestimate any opponent. And that's pretty important since we play in the Big Ten and on any given Saturday we could lose. But now it's 4th and 6, the game is on the line and all they did was run. We're going to happily improve to 2-0, and one of our wide receivers won player of the game, but we only have one more non-conference matchup before Big Ten play starts, so we better get our act together if we want to stay near the top of the rankings. And we might have lost out on a commit to Georgia, but we picked up 2 of the best prospects on our board, so I'm pretty happy with how things are going. I could be wrong, but I think this is the first time we've played in the rain in this rebuild, and on an early 3rd and 6, I'm going to see Carnell Tate wide open, Devin Brown puts it in his hands, and that's a touchdown. I love seeing that out of our quarterback, and then a terrible 3rd down play call, so I think Temple has to punt it back to us, and we're on pace to run away with this game a lot quicker than the last one. We're about to go up 14-0, and it's going to be here, so it's nice to see us getting off to an early start, and after our defense forced a turnover for us, I think all hope is already lost for Temple. I mean, they literally can't do anything versus our defense. It looks like they've thrown it straight to us on this play where we get the pick, and now we're going to end the first half by simply just punching this in. At the end of the day, even the freshman quarterback got out there on the field, and this is how I expected to beat Ohio. Maybe the blackout jerseys are the key to our success, and I'll keep that in mind as we go through the rest of the year, so nobody should be shocked that we're wearing them again. It's really important that we don't lose to the Badgers here, and they have gotten us to a 3rd and 13, but it's cover 2, and we had to open Carnell Tate, but Devin Brown sailed that throw so bad. So now Wisconsin has driven it all the way down the field, and I'm simply trying to prevent them from reaching the end zone. On 3rd and goal, they throw it straight to our corner, and he just wasn't able to hold on to the ball. I mean, I'll take holding them to 3 points, but truthfully, they shouldn't have any, and look at how beautiful this stadium is in NCAA football. With that many fans in the crowd, the team has found motivation to move it down the field, but we've got to pick up this 3rd and 4. They're all over the halfback screen, and Devin Brown takes it in. They left the middle wide open for our quarterback, so I'm glad he took the space. And I swear I always end up having to use a scrambling quarterback whenever I do any of these rebuilds, so in the next one, I'm going to make sure that I recruit a pocket passer. I mean, I'm sure Devin Brown could also do that, but whenever they send in blitzes like this, it's so effective to be able to scramble around with him and then find Carnell Tate to the 35. And Will Howard wasn't able to do it on the same level as him. We're going to see if he can hit Tate again, which he does. So we're building up some momentum on this drive, but now it is 3rd and 6. They have man-to-man coverage out there, and that's not good. Well, at least it's not good for them. I appreciate it. And if Wisconsin doesn't get this 3rd and 14, I'm honestly going to burn a timeout. I want us to get the ball back again before the half, and even if we only get a field goal out of this, that was well worth it, but I think we're getting a touchdown. It is remarkable how bad the Badgers are playing, and I highly doubt they're going to stop the run twice as we have an easy score here. That's going to make it incredibly hard for them to come back, but I did get stuck on a lineman, so I'd love to get more than a field goal out of this drive, and we missed the pass. I can't lie, sometimes Devin Brown is letting me down, but we're still going to beat Wisconsin, and since he's so young, he can work on it as he develops throughout this season. We should get the sack there, and there we go. All around, it was a pretty solid performance from everybody, and we are tied for 1st place in our division right now, but we still don't have anybody in the Heisman race, and I'm going to keep an eye on these prospects just to see if we land them. But what's more important is that we continue to win, and Washington might be undefeated, but they're not favored. I think that makes a lot of sense though, because last season they went 2-10 on this file, but they've definitely come to play today against us, so we better wake up, and it looks like they're going to pass for a tutty. It's never easy playing on the road in Dynasty, and we do have an open receiver, but it's off target, so they're going to force us to punt it back to them, and we desperately need to get them off the field on this 3rd and 21 where I'm all over that, but they refuse to give me the user pick. Devin Brown would follow it up by throwing an interception, and they're going to hurdle to reach the end zone. So approaching halftime, we literally have 0 points right now, and I think it's going to stay that way. I mean, I'm not against throwing up a prayer, but I have a hard time believing it would go well, and I hate playing on the road so much. We cannot let the Huskies take us down and ruin our undefeated season. Carnell Tate's wide open, and he also has created a ton of space, so we'll take the touchdown, but they're about to get one themselves, and we can't get over to that. Whatever we do, we cannot mess up this 3rd and 13, and we had our tight end open, but Devin Brown is selling, and I don't like going for it in this situation, but we're going to try to pull it off where I threw it a second too late. If they get the 1st down here, they're probably going to start chewing clock against us, but I'm all over the ball, so we still have a chance. And after scoring a touchdown, it's on our defense to get a stop, but they're going to get a huge run on us, and I don't think we're going to be able to catch Cameron Davis. He is gone to the crib. This guy's been giving us issues throughout this entire game, and I'm trying to score as quickly as possible without using any timeouts, but we're only going to have one more chance to get the ball back. All right, all we have to do is force a 3 and out. I got in that gap, and that leaves us with 2 timeouts left. Again, I've stacked the box, but Hartford's fallen over, and we're still going to hold them, so things are looking better as long as they don't pass, but they have, and I left players wide open. Unfortunately, they marked that as a 1st, so we're going to lose to Washington on the road, but at least we put up a good effort, and now we have a bye week where there's a ton we need to work on. I honestly don't think it's fair to drop us all the way down to number 14, but as the weeks go on, we'll move back up, and we could still beat every team in our division to make it to the Big Big Ten championship. As for recruiting, we have a few more signees, including athlete Chris Stewart, and I'll never forget what Maryland did to us last year, dropping 42 on our heads, so it's time for us to get revenge. This is a chance for our program to make a real statement, and on 3rd and 13, Edwards Jr. throws it out, but we weren't able to pick it off, and we just have to make sure he doesn't get 6 touchdowns this time. It's also no longer the Will Howard era, but instead the Devin Brown one, so we'll see if that makes a difference. And with a minute left in this first half, they still have a 3-point lead, but we're about to score a touchdown on them, so we just have to finish this drive off. And could you imagine if Devin Brown could just make some of these simplest throws? It would be so nice, but Judkins had a good juke there, and it's so unfortunate that he got tripped up. That was an easy touchdown, but we should be able to pick up this 3rd and inches through the air, and oh my. I could have sworn they would have run man-to-man, but the QB sneak works, and we still have 22 seconds to reach the end zone where that player is wide open. We'd also open up the 3rd quarter with a touchdown, so I'm pretty happy with how things are going, and with less than 4 minutes left, it's still a 2-possession game, but they're going to convert on 4th down. I was hoping we could prevent them from scoring, but I'm starting to think that won't happen, and even if we stop them on this 3rd and long, they're still going to take a field goal against us, or at least I thought they would to make it a 1-possession game, but they've gone for it instead, and are you serious? They caught me out of position with Caleb Downs there, so now they could get it back within 3 points. I'm stuck on a lineman, and it won't matter. All we have to do is get a couple of first downs to run out the clock, and I'm surprised that they haven't called any timeouts yet, but I'm sure it's going to come after this play. We have to go down and bounce. That's not going to be enough to ice it, but it certainly helps us get closer. And on 2nd and 12, they're not going to stick with Devin Brown, but there's another guy in the area, and that was a beautiful cut from him. He just helped us end the game on the ground and get the win, so it's nice to see our quarterback pull that off. And of the 6 remaining games on our schedule, the Michigan schools are the 2 toughest ones. It's been surprising to see the Spartans outperform the Nittany Lions, but we're about to see just how good they really are, and they're still having success with a backup quarterback. Knowing Noah Kim is out, I feel a lot better now, and we should definitely take care of business here. On our first drive, we've already gotten it to their side of the field, but we have to pick up this 3rd and 11, and we do. So we're setting ourselves up pretty nicely here, but they're going to send in the blitz. I've set my feet, and that's going to be an easy tutty. I am definitely here for Devin Brown developing, but we're not going to be able to guard this slant on 3rd down. So maybe we'll hold them on this 3rd and long where I'm guarding over the middle of the field, and they simply just took a drag. That's fine with me because I remember their kicker not being the best, but he drilled that, and on 2nd and 1, Judkins is going to get a big lane to take us all the way down to the 8. Then on 1st and goal, Devin Brown is going to sling it to the end zone, and Jeremiah Smith has caught another touchdown pass. Approaching halftime, it's very clear to me that the Spartans just can't keep up because we're about to make it 28-3, and this is an impressive showing, but you're going to see that Batty handed it off. So that means in the 4th quarter, we're dealing with an injury, but it's only for the game. I would have been devastated if Devin Brown was out for any longer than that, but freshman Jamar Batty filled in pretty nicely to help us seal off our win versus Michigan State, and that result should get us back inside the top 10. I also feel like we should have a Heisman contender, but unfortunately for us, the media doesn't seem to think the same way, as right now a kid that's transferred to focus on lacrosse in real life is leading the way. This is what happens when you lose Nick Saban and Jalen Milroe, and there's honestly not too much for me to mention about recruiting because the guys we're landing now won't be impactful for a while, so we just need to focus on continuing to get wins. It's on the road, so getting a result isn't a given, and currently we're not in the Big Ten championship, but what it'll really come down to is whether or not we beat Michigan and Penn State. To start this one though, my only hope is we're able to get them off of the field, and that's exactly what we do. I'm even going to experiment with some things like the Wildcat formation, but that didn't pan out, so it's a great thing that they instantly turned it over to us, and now they're going to get hit with a face mask penalty on top of it. Northwestern cannot afford to make mistakes like that, but I think our offensive line just messed up, and with the holding call, it's still 0-0, but it's not going to matter for long if we could hit a target. Well, now it's 3rd and goal, and their man-to-man coverage is not going to stick on Smith, so it ended up working out perfectly fine for us, and on this long 3rd and 10, they're not converting. We've also been driving down the field on them, and I see a touchdown on the field, but it's dropped, so Devin Brown shouldn't have put that one so high in the air, but he needed to here. Honestly, as we continue to get better, these types of matchups aren't going to be very difficult for us, but we can't get too cocky because I think Penn State is the next team we're going to play, so even though we're going to win by a lot, we still have to make sure that we're prepared to take on the Nittany Lions, and I hope that we can continue to get results like this. Well, it turns out we actually play Indiana first, which is even easier, and with 4 Big Ten games left, this is what the standings look like, so there's still multiple teams that could make the conference championship, but Indiana is definitely not one of them, and I'm hoping that we can just cruise to another win here. Now, I will say our defense has definitely been shining as of recently more than ever, and that's a scary combo since we're starting to get things figured out on offense as well, as that's a one-handed grab, and in all honesty, Jeremiah Smith's been our best receiver. Because of him, this drive's gotten all the way down to the 5-yard line, and we are so close to reaching the end zone, we just need to get a little bit more, so I'm not shocked that we were able to get it on the very next play. It's honestly crazy how quickly teams are falling out of games with us. I don't think they're going to pick up this 3rd and 15. This is an interception for us for sure, but that would have just been an arm punt if we caught it, and I have a feeling that us returning it here means we're going to start start in even better field positioning than we would have if we intercepted it, and Matthews Jr. gets the edge to take us all the way to the 20. That was a huge return from him, and their man-to-man coverage is not good, but we're going to miss. So it is third down where I kind of just want to send it up to the end zone, and that was guarded perfectly. I thought Tate was going to run straight past that DB, but even though he didn't, I'm honestly not too worried, as on 3rd and 10, they should have thrown us a pick, and we didn't get the animation. But either way, they're not getting any points, and by the time we're midway through the 3rd quarter, they only have 3 of them, but we only have 17. It's been a bit of a rough offensive game, but they're not picking this up, and I'll be interested to see what they do here, but they're going to have to kick 3 after committing a false start. That is a huge mistake to make. They were lined up to go for it as well, but they would hold us on our next possession, so it's still a 2-possession game. And here on 3rd and 10, I just got to stick with this slant. They've thrown it straight to us, and they're going out of bounds. I feel like by punting here, Indiana's practically giving up in this game, but we'll see where this bounces, and I did not mean to pick that ball up. I cannot believe they didn't make the tackle there, but it's going to end up being just okay for us as we get to the 25. However, our returner did get injured there, but it really doesn't matter because he's our 4th cornerback, and we have other players that can play just as well as him. Even though we'd only win by 20, I'm happy with the result we got, and our kicker actually won player of the game, so that should tell you the exact type of offensive game we had. And it's much better to have an off day versus Indiana than versus Penn State, because the Nittany Lions are a 99 overall team, and they have the number 2 defense in the country, plus it's even snowing now, so if we want to come out on top of this one, we're going to have to play almost perfectly. They have already gotten us to a 3rd and 15, but that's man-to-man coverage, so Carnell Tate will take advantage. And I haven't run that much of the option with Devin Brown, even though I probably should, so maybe we should work a little bit more of that into our game, and this is going to be another first. It would honestly be huge if we could simply open this game up with a touchdown, but they're about to get the sack, and what a play from him. Throughout this rebuild, we haven't seen him do many things like that, but just knowing our star quarterback is capable of it makes me so excited, and Liam Clifford has burnt us deep to take it inside our red zone. I am afraid it's going to lead to a touchdown for Penn State, but they still haven't scored, and we get the sack on 3rd down. They're going to be forced to just take their field goal, and now with the read option, Brown's going to take it into the end zone. After getting a sack on a 2nd down, they are on a 3rd and 18, which is going to be extremely difficult to pick up, and they're not gonna. But I'll also be interested to see how this kick goes, because I think it's out of their range, and it wasn't, but their kicker shanked it, and I think we're about to score another touchdown, which would be nuts because it would end up being our 4th of the day, and it's so weird that we continue to just run up the score. I truthfully thought that this game was going to end up being super close, but we'd win by 25 points, and Penn State just got embarrassed at our home field. Our fans have a ton to be happy about right now, but I'm sure all they really care about is if we beat Michigan, and before we hop into that one, there's only one other matchup we have to get through. It's our rivalry matchup against Illinois, and they're missing their star running back, plus they're sitting at 4 and 6, so we should run away with this one as well. Our opening drive has been going pretty well so far as we're down inside the 10, and we'll see if we're able to pass it here as they're running zone coverage. Our drag is open, and that goes to the 2. Eventually, we should be able to just punch it in, and by the time there's only 4 minutes left in the second half, we're up 21. It's just too easy to score, and we went from struggling on these sliders to having no issues at all. Our defense has also been incredible. That's one of the main reasons we're doing this well, and we're going to prevent them from moving the chains there, so they've decided to just put some points up on the board, and that was the moment where they gave up on winning this game. We ended up running out a lot of the 4th quarter, and we picked up another good Big Ten result. Devin Brown was our player of the game, and now it's time to find out if we even have a chance at completing both these challenges. Obviously, we're having a good year, but we have to take down Michigan to make the conference championship, and we should have a decent shot at being in the running for a 1st round bye. That'll all depend on how we do in the game though, and going into it, we have the number 1 rush defense. It also looks like it's going to be in the snow, so that's going to add to the biggest rivalry in college football, and it would be huge to get the first stop of the day. We're on 3rd and 13. We had zones over there, but they just decided not to play it, and it looks like they've taken their check down, which won't get them a first. If they're attempting the field goal, you'd assume they're in range, but that could have been short, and it's 3rd and 13, but I feel like we should be able to still pick this up, and we do. Their defense has been pretty solid so far, but they haven't been able to get us off the field, so hopefully they don't do it now. I don't see the route over the middle I wanted to take, and why'd I hit that route late? It was wide open for the longest time, but I stared down number 11, and then eventually they got a zone over to this. So that turnover is simply on me being bad at this game, and what is the coverage? I mean, we're still going to hold them to 4th down, but they had somebody wide open, and we have got to have a better drive this time around against them. It's been going pretty well so far, and Judkins is going to get us to the 5, but they've also committed a penalty with the face mask, so that gives us a fresh set of downs, and they're going to stop us here. When we pivot to the read option though, I feel like we should have some success, and Devin Brown just got laid out. 3rd and goal. I don't want to get held to a field goal. I have to try and force that slant, but it's off target, and Michigan's gotten their 2nd pick of the game. Those have been a couple of very rough turnovers in this one, but our defense is good, and we're also going to take a timeout, so we got the ball back for one final drive before the half, and we have somebody wide open. That is such a massive deal. We now have a 4-point lead versus the Wolverines, lanes, and they are going to go for the deep shot, but we just swat it down. And it wouldn't hurt to see if Matthews Jr. could get us a nice punt return before the half, but that was extremely rough. We're just going to send up a prayer to Carnell Tate, and that is going to be knocked down. This matchup has definitely been more about defense than offense, and as the night goes on, I'm hoping that we're able to break theirs down. But what's been really helping us out is these face masks, and I feel like we should have Rodgers in the end zone where I throw it up to him and he dropped it. It was meant to be a bullet pass, and I thought they were in man-to-man, so we're honestly lucky that it didn't result in a turnover, but we need to get this 3rd and 14, and I think we got to go for it here. Our backup running back is in the game, but it's not going to matter, and this is when I'm realizing that Judkins has broken his collarbone. It's not going to matter against Michigan as we close this one out relatively easily in the dark. You can barely even see a thing, so the shaders definitely get glitched whenever you play in the snow, but what's important is we came out on top, and I just hope that that injury doesn't hold us back. For a split second, this conference championship threw me off, but then I remembered that the Pac-12 schools did come over to the Big Ten, and they're over in this division. We're facing off against Oregon, who has 2 players in the Heisman running, and going into this game, they're the #1 team in the country. It's a great chance for us to make a stand though, and we're desperately going to need backup running back Dallin Hayden to step up, but just in case he gets tired, Carnell Tate's also going to fill in. It stinks we have to play this without our best offensive player, but if we're going to win a championship, we have to learn how to do it without him, and we were able to take down Michigan, so I feel like we should also be able to beat the Ducks. Devin Brown's going to get a nice lane, and they would force us to a 3rd and 11 where they're getting in instant pressure and he can't escape it. There wasn't much we could do about that, and I don't think we're going to be able to stick with everything. We had a zone right there on low, but he just decided to not play it. So on this 3rd down, I'm going to go with man-to-man coverage, and that worked out much better for us. Here on 3rd and 6, with a little bit of the option, we're going to pitch it last second over to Smith, and he had a great boost of acceleration. There's only 2 players to beat, and I don't think he's going to be able to do it to both of them, but he did get brought down with a face mask at the end of that play, and that's going to set us up super nicely. Dallin Hayden shouldn't have any issues reaching the end zone now, but he is, so we're going to have to pass, and that works. Now on a 3rd and 5, they have a bubble screen out there on the field, and we get the sack, so that means the Ducks are going to attempt a field goal, and that was well off target. We also have an opportunity to return this kick, and if the blocks line up nicely, this could be game-changing, but I'm not sure if they're going to, and even though it's a shame that it didn't, we have been having a pretty solid offensive drive, so no matter what happens, we should end this first half with a 2-possession lead over the Ducks, and I'd be content with settling for 3, but we're going to have a chance to get 7. Just 5 yards shouldn't be that difficult to pick up, and it's not. So with Oregon falling behind by that much, they've come out in this 3rd quarter playing a lot better, going to the 5, and it would be crazy if we could get a goal line hold on them as we're going to make this tackle, but we still have a good bit of work to do, and we are going to be all over that. For a Heisman candidate at running back, he did not have great vision there, and they're holding these blocks perfectly. Burke gets off of it though, and unfortunately they would still make it in, but we have maintained our 1-possession lead, and this is going to be a 1st down. So with a few minutes left, we don't need much more, and it's about time we turn on chew clock where we should be able to run things relatively easily, but we fumbled it, and the Ducks missed an extra point, which is why they only have 13, but they could still tie things up with a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, so I'm super nervous and we can't get over to the ball. Luckily for us, if they do reach the end zone, there's still like a minute and a half left, and they're going to do it here, while also still having 3 timeouts remaining. This should be intercepted though, and it wasn't, but I hope we can recover the onside kick better than we could hold onto that football, and that's what we did. Now they still have 3 timeouts, so there is a chance for them, but if we could just move the chains one final time, that would be it, and all it takes is one good read from Devin Brown where he has his corner route, and that is all. I respect Oregon for the fight that they put up, but they're not a better team than us, and this knocks off a season objective. Now that we've won a Big Ten championship, all we have to do is win a playoff game, but to be honest, I feel like this could be the season where we win it all, so I'd love for that to be our new goal, and I love to look at these season stats because we had multiple award winners on defense, with Caden Curry taking home these 2, and then cornerback Denzel Burke winning the Thor. Over on the offensive side of things, Devin Brown did throw 12 picks, but it ended up being okay, and is Judkins not injured anymore? He's not on the injury report, so I wonder if advancing to bowl week skips like a month. It should, and that makes a huge difference on our chance of winning it all. I was already super confident even though we aren't the 1 seed, and now I'm feeling even better about it, but we'll see who we play, and all the schools that left the Pac-12 to other conferences have been good. We saw 2 of them in the championship last year, and then Arizona's in this game, so I figured that they'd probably come out on top, but LSU still has a slight chance in this one, and they're only down by 3, but time is not on their side. They also don't have any timeouts left, so they needed that, but I'm not sure if it's gonna matter because they still need to go like 90 yards down the field, and this isn't gonna cut it. They marked him short for 3rd and inches, and that means the Wildcats are moving on, so we've gotten our first opponent in the playoffs, and I love that on paper we're the better team. With Judkins back, my expectations are sky high, and we're playing this game in the Cardinal Stadium, so I'd assume that's pretty close to Arizona, and that might give them a bit of a home field advantage, but we are still flying down the field. This one's going over to Smith, and on 3rd and inches, instead of handing it off, I've actually decided to throw it, but we have have someone open. I figured we could catch them off guard, and Noah Fafita is just going to take his check down on third down. So we're getting an early stop on the Wildcats, and by the time there's 30 seconds left in the half, we still have our 7-point lead. So I'd say things are going pretty well, but it'll be even better if we reach the end zone. And with no timeouts left, we have to be careful here, as it is now 3rd and 4. I guess they've gone with zone coverage, and Judkins is wide open. I'm feeling a lot better now that we're up by 14, and Noah Fafita is somehow still on his feet on this one. But eventually, he had to go down, and I'm just going to stick with this drag as he tries to escape the pocket and fails. This is where our defense really has to step up and make a difference. If we don't let them get into the end zone here, that would be a massive deal. And there we go. They're settling for a field goal. If Wildcat fans still had any hope, I'm sure it's going to be lost after this drive because we are moving it. And they've done a decent job to still be in this one versus us. But our offense has simply outperformed them, and our defense has also been great. This next play could seal it for us because it is 3rd and 6, so I'm hoping that they don't pick this up and we are all over Coleman. The computer is being smart to go for it though, and with that corner route they didn't get open, Riley did, so they're going to stay alive for a bit longer, but they still don't have that much hope versus us, and I was all over it. The game doesn't like to give you user picks, but at the end of the day, it's all good. It is 4th and 10. I highly doubt they're going to convert here. They're going deep. We have somebody there, and it's it. We are moving on to the semifinals, and that completes the only other objective I had for this season, but I still believe this is our best chance to win it all, because after this year, we're going to lose a ton of players to the NFL and graduation. With Georgia taking down Texas A&M, they're going to be our next opponent. They won by a lot, and our defense better not give up 41 points to them. It also just hit me that half of the playoff teams are from the SEC, and that's nuts, but they're clearly the best conference, so I'm not happy to see that Caleb Downs is injured. Our star strong safety just can't stay healthy, but we have a ton of good defensive backs, so it shouldn't matter, and we've already gotten them to a 3rd and 22, which is going to be almost impossible to pick up unless they get a lucky route bounce, and we are fine. Even if he would have broken a tackle, there was a flag on the play, and with the Bulldogs punting it from their own 10-yard line, we received this on our side of midfield, so we've set ourselves up to get points with this first drive, and on 3rd and 6, the option pitch over to Innes is going to go for a huge gain. He just has one player to beat, and now it's time for us to go back to leaning on Judkins to punch it in. I love how things are starting out versus the Bulldogs, but they are going to pick this up, and that would lead to a touchdown, so it's all tied up at 7-7, where they've gotten in some instant pressure, and we're going to catch it. There's zero reason Jeremiah Smith should have been able to come down with this football, especially in the rain, but he was still able to, and what is this pressure? Now on 2nd and 10, they're going to go with some zone coverage. I was expecting man-to-man, and we are going to fumble it away to the Bulldogs. Are you kidding me? Luckily, the refs are reviewing it, so we just have to hope that Dallin Hayden was already marked down, and it looks like the refs are on our side. That is certainly a game-changing call. Devin Brown gets us the first here, and we can also make sure that this is the final drive of the half, so we should have the lead no matter what, and Judkins goes to the 1. All right, we just need him to work it in here for us, but he doesn't, so we're going to take a timeout, and I guess we'll have to be content with settling for 3. We do get ball to start the second half though, so as long as we take advantage of it, we should be okay. That was super close, and we've just continued to work it down the field, but our backup quarterback's in. Devin Brown got injured, so he's out for the rest of the game, and that is not something you want to see, but the freshman's going to break the tackle, and he makes it all the way to the end zone. For our backup quarterback, Jamar Batty was the perfect recruit to get, and on 3rd and 8, they're going to try to pass it where they're going to pick it up on us. That's unfortunate. You know the rosters are only updated for our team when Kentucky quarterback Brock Vandegrift's back there, and he threw it straight to us, but we didn't get the pick, so instead they just punted it back to us, and I highly doubt we're going to pick this up as we throw it straight to Wilson. I didn't even see him in that position there. That is not good because I'm pretty sure Georgia's already in field goal range, and if they're not, with this pass, they're definitely going to be, but I'll be interested to see if they go for it, and they are, which could be a huge mistake. We try to generate pressure, and we aren't going to make the tackle on Brock. He takes it all the way to the crib. We were so close to getting the sack, but somehow we missed, and the pressure is on for us to close out this game with our backup quarterback, but using his speed, we get to the 35. We're definitely using him in the run game more than we used Devin Brown, and we're just a couple of first downs away from being able to seal it versus the Bulldogs, so that makes this a huge 3rd and 2, and with the option, Jamar Batty has a ton of space in front of him. With only one timeout left now, there's not much Georgia can do, but they could still get the ball back, and what we might do is just punt it to them and see what they're able to pull off. However, I thought we could run the clock down more, so I'd rather risk going for it on this 4th and 5, and we are going to pick it up. So Ohio State is headed to the national championship, and we did it with a backup quarterback in the second half. As for our opponent, I'd love if it was Texas, because we beat them to open up this season, and that's who it'll be against unless Alabama can pull off this comeback. They have to recover the onside kick, and they're not going to do so, which means we're going to be facing off against the Longhorns, and I don't think things could have worked out better than this, but I will say Texas has a slight advantage, because even though we beat them earlier in the year, the championship is taking place in AT&T Stadium. They're trying to force us to an early 3-and-out, and we aren't going to get it, so I'm not too happy about it, flip, but as long as we lock up, it's not going to matter, and that's what we've done. Since they're out of field goal range, they are going for it on 4th and 2, and they pick it up to Jonte Cook II, so their drive does stay alive. But our defense has been really good about being clutched down inside the red zone, and nobody's on Hankins, so he's going to go all the way to the 4. That was probably my man, but I want to blame somebody else. And on 2nd and goal, they've decided to pass. We have some good zones out there, though, and this should be intercepted. I don't know how Ryan Niblett caught it, but apparently he's averaging like 2 touchdowns a game, and we are going to hopefully get in. That was a risky throw, but Antwi has made some great plays for us, so I trusted him in that situation, and it's going to pay off for us. But we're having some problems when it comes to stopping the Longhorns offense. And on 3rd and 9, they've gone with a halfback draw, so we are going to hold them. My hope is their kicker doesn't have the leg for this, but he does. And on 3rd and 10, man-to-man coverage has clamped up all of our receivers. They'd follow that stop up with a touchdown, so we're trailing by 10. And there might only be 26 seconds left in the half, but I feel like we can make something happen. Eventually, Devin Brown has to make some good throws, and he doesn't here. So I'm not happy with how we're playing. I might as well just go deep, and it's off target again. We didn't come to play, and it's probably going to cost us the championship. But we'll see what happens on 3rd down, and we're going to stop the run. Being down by 13 isn't the end of the world, but it's also not great, and with their man-to-man coverage, we're going to miss that pass. Devin Brown is selling so hard right now, and out of frustration, I am going for it on 4th and 8, where finally he is going to hit Carnell Tate. I simply need our offense to just get us some points on this drive, and with the option and him pitching it, we are going absolutely nowhere. And I don't know if I can trust him through the air either, but we're going to float this one up, and that's going to take us all the way to the red zone. This is it. We're starting to slowly figure things out, and that's going to lead to a touchdown. So I hope Texas can feel the pressure right now because it's on them, and all we had to do was make the tackle, but we didn't do it in time. So I'm hoping we will on this 3rd down, and they went with the run, which is a lot easier to stop. Going into the 4th quarter, things are going to be okay because we got the ball back. We have been driving down the field, and our deep post was open, but that missed pass makes it 4th and 7, and we better make sure that we don't fail to get this one where I lasered it up the seam, and that's going to lead to a touchdown. It was a risky throw to make with Devin Brown, who's been very inaccurate, but it doesn't matter. He's having one of his worst games yet because right now we are in control of this one, and that wide receiver screen is not going to work against us. We forced the fumble, and Quinn Ewers has probably just lost this game for Texas with this one play. He stayed in college an extra year just to lose in the championship, and it would be fun to go for the 2-point conversion, but I decided to play it smart. So instead, I've been leaning on my defense, and this is going to almost be picked. I am stunned that they are punting it back to us right now. I came out in a defensive formation, but they thought it would be better to just give it back to us. Burke scooped that ball up perfectly, and we just have to run out the rest of this clock. They have made it way too easy for us to seal our win, and I've used a QB wrap maybe like 2 times in this rebuild, so I thought we could catch them off guard, but instead it makes it 3rd and 11, and I'm just going to go for the deep shot. I didn't even have time to get it out, so I can't make fun of Texas for punting it back to us because it actually ended up being the right decision for the Longhorns, and this goes inside the 15. Quinn Ewers has one final drive against us, but so far it's been going pretty well for him, and he still has some work to do, but they're getting closer. I'm very tempted to send in a blitz on 3rd and 1, but we've generated no pressure with sending 4 guys, and eventually somebody's got to make a play for us, but it didn't happen, and I'm just going to guard all these hitch routes, hope for the best, and with that much time, they're going to find someone. That means it's all going to come down to whether or not we can kick a field goal, and Devin Brown is starting to drive me nuts, but we have our corner out, and I'll take it. We really don't need that many yards, but they have been a struggle to come by. I'll take this one, and I have a feeling that a run up the middle is going to catch them off guard on 3rd and 1, which it did. The Longhorns are going to dial up some pressure in response, though, and with that sack, I decided we should burn our first timeout of the day, and then we missed this. Right now, you all are getting the full picture of what it's been like to play on these sliders, but we are going to go to the 25, and I think we're in our kicker's field goal range, so there's not much else they can do unless they get the sack. I honestly don't know what I was thinking. We are going to take our hitch route over to our tight end, but there's not that much time remaining, and I'm just going to have to go down. This is such an easy kick. We just have to drill it, and we definitely deserve to win this national championship. This has been the Ohio State rebuild where we completed all our objectives, and I had more planned out for season 3, but we didn't even need them, which was mainly because of Devin Brown. So I'm honestly stunned to see that he wants to stay for his junior year, but that would have been nice if we needed another season in this rebuild. And make sure to let me know down below other teams you all would like to see me fix with their updated roster.